Hi, everybody. I'm having a lovely beer this evening as we begin our chat. How are we all doing today? Everybody's here. I'm wearing another David sweater because why not? This one is very fancy and made of cashmere. So I didn't want to give it away. I wanted to keep it because it keeps me warm. Welcome, everybody. Oh my gosh, we're at 6,200 people already. It's 5 o'clock. Hi. Familiar faces. Hi. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. All week we have been doing Instagram live stories at 8 o'clock, 5 o'clock West Coast time. And every time I've been messing it up because I'm just, I don't know, I'm just bad at time zones. But every night this week, we have been raising money for Food Banks Canada and Feeding America. And our cast has been going live in order to raise some money. So we have already surpassed $130,000 in less than a week. I cannot thank you all enough for joining us every night and for donating and for telling other people to donate. And the most amazing thing about all of this is that the donations are not huge donations. It is small donations coming from a wide variety of people. And to me, that is the greatest thing, because in order to donate, we're not asking for a lot of money. You can donate $1 and that is enough. And you know what? If you can't donate, that's fine too. Keep us company here. This is what this is all for. It's just taking time out of our lives so that we can connect and feel companionship in a very uncertain time, while at the same time raising money for charity. So the link is in my bio. I'm about to loop in Emily. The link will be in her bio as well. And basically what we're doing today, Emily and I thought it would be kind of fun if the two of us gave advice on friendships. So if you have, questions about how to navigate a friendship, shoot us a question. And Emily and I, who are probably the worst two people to ask, will try and navigate this and answer some questions for you, all in the name of charity. So I'm going to try and loop Emily Hampshire into this. Yes, I'm going to accept you, Emily. Calm down. She's like going... Okay, hold on. I'm going to grab her 1 sec. Okay. So feel free to ask us. Hi.
Bad friend.
Here's the thing. I needed to set up why we're here before I logged you in.
I thought I was just being ignored, but it's good we're talking about this because that's.
Can you imagine if I did this entire thing and we were supposed to do it together and I just talked the entire way just myself?
I thought that was going to happen. I wouldn't have been surprised, quite frankly.
Wow, that's really completely not friendly.
I know. Want to see what I'm wearing though? Look at this. What? Can you read that backwards?
Where did you get that?
From a vendor on Etsy.
So you're wearing counterfeit merchandise.
Yes. Yes.
I'm wearing one of David's sweaters, and you are wearing illegal merchandise.
Yeah, well, because I couldn't. Yeah.
This all tracks. In terms of friendship, this tracks.
Yeah.
Well, until the questions come in, are you safe? Someone just hopes that we're safe.
Oh,
which is
yeah.
Funny.
I feel like you were maybe one of the last people I saw.
Probably.
Yeah.
You came over to my house. Emily came over to our to my house. What was it? 3 weeks ago? It feels like 7 months ago.
Well, because when you're in the apocalypse like this, it's like dog years.
Exactly. And you came over and I showed you the last 4 episodes of the show and the documentary.
Yeah, and what happened to me after? I was sobbing.
It was a bit of a mess. We were both a bit of a mess. So here we are talking about friendships, and that was probably not the greatest friendship move on my part, to just put you through emotional turmoil.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Here's one.
Wait.
Best advice to rekindle oh gosh, I didn't see it. Was it best advice to rekindle a long distance friendship? Was that the question?
oh God, is this how you're gonna get questions? Because they go by so fast.
Okay, here's one right now, and then hopefully you can ask it again. How do you make new friends?
Oof, that's hard as an adult. I mean,
Is it?
not? I mean, I make new friends from just work. How do you make new friends? You leave the house?
You know what it was? I'll say this. I am like naturally someone that likes to hibernate in my house. I don't leave the house. I oftentimes have friends come to my house. And what I started to realize was that doesn't allow for me to make new friends ever.
Yeah.
Because unless someone who is a friend brings another friend to my house, I'm not going to meet anybody. I'm also not going to meet anyone romantically if I never leave the house either. So I made the choice a little while ago to accept invitations to leave the house, to go and meet people at bars and at restaurants. And
did you make this decision right when the quarantine happened?
Yeah, I've been doing nothing but going out and hanging out in bars and clubs.
You were like, I'm going to say yes to every invite. Oh,
well, you know what the funny thing was? When I got back from, and first of all, Emily and I are talking friendship. If you have questions to ask, feel free to ask us. And we are doing this in the name of charity, Food Banks Canada and Feeding America. Both Emily and I have links in our Twitter or Instagram bios. You can donate through those links. But we're talking about making friends. How do you make new friends? And I was just saying, I put myself out there. I made the choice when we came back from doing the show because I spent 13 months out of the year just focusing on the show.
Yeah. And
I had no friends.
Well, it's a good thing, though. I do tell people this a lot. Like, we genuinely like each other all on the show. Yeah. Like, we wouldn't have, we decided to spend like 2 weeks together after to say goodbye to each other. Yeah. So that, like, if you're spending that time with us, like in real life and on the show and then editing, that's a lot. You need some room for that.
Someone just brought up a question about the tour, and we don't have any official updates, but I will say it's going to be postponed. Your tickets will be honored. This is unofficial information, but for those of you that are like wondering or concerned, please know that like we're going to make sure that we get back on tour and whenever this clears up and that we see you all again. What trait is the most important in a friend? Someone just asked.
I mean, I think honesty, like, to me, that's like really important to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think honesty and loyalty, which are like go hand in hand, are really important.
Like have your back and
And I don't know whether you felt like this, but I felt that when I turned 30,
I'm still not there yet, but yeah.
No, you're 22. But when I turned 30, I felt like everything became clear in terms of what I need and what I want from my friends. And loyalty. And honesty were like the number one. And if people were bringing me down, if I had friends that were like constantly, it was like drama, and I felt, if I sat in my bed at the end of the night and asked myself, do you think this person would like fight for me? Not literally, but like, would this friend like have my back if push comes to shove? Some of them, no. I realized no, they probably wouldn't. And you know what? Snip, snip.
You told me that. You gave me
that right out.
Because I saw somebody did ask about, like, what do you do when you have a friend who's, like, just draining your energy? And you were someone who you have given me great friend advice. And about, like, that it is true. When you get older, you start to realize, like, what you want in your circle. And if it's not adding to your life, it's just not worth it anymore.
I feel like we often like feel an obligation to keep friends in our lives because they've either been around for a long time or we're just too like fearful to confront them about it. And you know what? I think what this whole pandemic has shown us is that like surround yourself with people who, not literally, now it's social distance, but make sure that the people that are in your life are lifting
Virtually
you up.
surround yourself.
Virtually surround yourself. Don't surround
Mm-hmm.
yourself with people who are bringing you down. Only surround yourself with people who are lifting you up. And I can say at this point that all of my friends, and I don't necessarily have like a huge circle of friends, but I do have like a small group of really important, meaningful friendships. And that means more than like being able to invite 700 people to a wedding. Because the people that I have let in and the people that are around me are really making like a positive difference in my life.
Yeah. And you know, I have like no friends, like zero, like I had like, I think I've only recently made a few new friends, but like before that, I just was friends with people I'd work with and see, and then I would go home.
Hold on, I'm trying to answer some more questions. Oh, here's one following up on the question that we've been having. How to be honest with a friend if they hurt you?
Ooh, that's good. You're really actually a great person. Can't believe I'm saying something good about you. But you're a great person for this conversation because you are an exemplary friend. Like, you do shit like that. Like, you confront things and you're honest, and well, you give the advice on that because I've learned from you on that.
Well, I mean, you know, I think what the show has sort of in a way made me realize is like my job when we were doing this show was to answer 1,000 questions all at once. And part of answering those questions, like, trained my brain to make very rational decisions about what needs to be done, what's the best way to do it, how do you make a decision that makes people feel heard and seen and respected in the workplace. But then it sort of trickled into my real life too. And I think I realized that, like, by withholding information or withholding like feelings, you're only going to let that out in weird ways. And I'm like the first person that can tell you, like, my habit in the past was to like bottle problems that I had with people, or if someone said something or did something that I was in disagreement over, I would like hold that and resent and resent and resent. And what that does is make you an unlikable person, because you're not giving the person the ability to hear what they might have done wrong. And I think communication and clarity of communication is so key, because sometimes what you're like really festering over might have been as simple as a miscommunication. Yeah. Or, you know what I mean?
I can't stand being, I feel, and I'm sure you do too, a lot of actors, just this energy of like, I know if something's going on. And so if you're not communicating, it's just this awkward thing that creates bigger problems. Like, it's horrible. I think Stevie has made me a better friend. And I've said that a lot. Like, it's very true. Stevie has definitely, her ability to be a friend when it sounds, this is gonna sound bad, but I've grown up a lot. Her ability to be a friend when it's not good for her. It's not like when you and Patrick got together, like that was a really hard thing, I think, because that means like, I'm not going to be your most important person anymore, but I was so happy for you. And so like, I feel like that selflessness of Stevie, I think it's changed me. I think, anyway.
Yeah, and I think we made a really conscious decision when we were writing that too, to not go down the path that, you know, that I have seen a lot before, which is like the friend getting cast aside and building resentment. I mean, it was really important for us to show that like everyone can coexist, and like just because someone falls in love with someone doesn't mean that the love and the relationship that they had to this other person in terms of friendship isn't there. And I was also just so bored of seeing female characters on television just being like catty. You know, there's it's just so, it's why there's not a lot of like woman on woman conflict in our show. And a lot of that,
but there's not, you know what's great? There's also not that on set, and it's like, you know how much I love Henny. I think Annie is like the greatest thing ever. I think Sarah's like, I love her so much. Like, to work with other actresses that you're usually kind of people assume there's cat fights and you hate each other. And this set was so not like that. And it's so refreshing to have a girlfriend who you can be like not competitive with. I'm so proud of Annie when she gets something. I vote for Annie.
But
like,
don't you find that it's just at the, like, when the chips are down, it is so much more validating and so much more healthy and will make you feel so much better to cheer for people. And I know that a lot of us have like competitiveness in our nature, but training yourself out of a competitive reaction to something and really starting to embrace the idea that like maybe someone got something that you didn't get, and maybe you're deep down, you're feeling a little bit of like competitiveness. But if you overcompensate with empathy for that person and like cheer that person on, you will come out of it so much more inspired than if you were to just sit on your like competitiveness, because being competitive is so corrosive to like who you are.
Yeah, and you know, the truth is it's easier, I think, to be embracing of other people when you feel good about yourself. And like, I think that is all that is part of surrounding yourself with people who cheer you on too, and people who aren't like, competitiveness in friendships is, I don't feel like there's a place for it.
Right. Well, speaking of that, I will remind everybody. Hold on to your question. Emily and I are here today, as the cast has been every night, raising money for Food Banks Canada and Feeding America. Today, we're answering your friendship questions and offering like relatively okay advice. I thought this might be worse than it was.
I thought it was going to be
I feel like we're covering some pretty substantial bases. So that's that. Link in both of our bios to donate. Please donate if anything you can, as small or as large amount as you want. And you know what? If you cannot donate, don't worry about it. We are part of this is just keeping each other company for a few minutes a day, and that's fine too. What was your question?
My question?
Yeah.
I saw a question. I saw a question of how somebody said, how do you keep your friends after you change jobs? And I feel like that is such a thing I've dealt with, because our jobs are always changing usually. Like Schitt was the longest job I've ever had, but I was usually used to making really intense friendships really fast and then being like, feeling like, okay, that's gone, that's done, moving on to the next. And I'd be kind of acquaintance friends with people, but never as close as I felt with the cast of Schitts. And I do feel like it's because that atmosphere on set was like that offset too. Like you would invite us to your place and we'd play games and so kind of, and we've maintained that after. Like I feel like we'll all know each other for a long time until you block me.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, I think it was one of those rare experiences where we all just really got along, and I feel like we were all in it together, and it was important that everyone feel like they were valued. Like there was no hierarchy to the cast of the show, and I think that's when things get really tricky in television, because you have sometimes, and I can't even imagine this, but you have actors, I mean, I can, but I can't.
Yeah.
Whose egos are so big that they need to make it known that they are in charge. And the ripple effects of those egos end up really scaring people into submission or into really hiding their feelings. And I just don't think that does good work. I don't think it makes for a very pleasant environment. And we're all just putting on costumes and playing dress up for a living. So if you're not,
but it was also like that with the crew and the cast, and there was no hierarchy there either, which that does happen a lot. And it's, I think that is a game changer. Why is Emily never at any? Oh, I thought that said, why is Emily never wearing pants? What do you?
I don't want to ask that question. No. Someone did ask what I'm drinking, and I'm having a lovely beer this evening. So that's what I'm doing. I'm of age though, so I can do that. And it's interesting because I think part of that question too was how do you maintain those kinds of friendships? And I really feel like it's important to maintain friendships. It's important to like, even if you just text. I've had a lot of friends text me you know, every couple days just asking how I'm doing, and I do the same thing. I think keeping in touch with people, and it doesn't require a lot of work to maintain friendships. I think really quality friendships, you know, I have friends that live in different continents that I don't see for years at a time. And then when we see each other again, it's like no time has passed. And part of that is because we keep in touch with each other and email, phone calls occasionally. Now I find that myself like FaceTiming friends of mine who live in London or in Paris, and everyone's going through something very similar and yet totally different. So I try to keep as close contact with people as I possibly can. And anytime I mean, for me, anytime I feel like I'm either like upset or in a bad mood or need some advice, I will always turn to a friend. And even if I'm just taking
total opposite. Sorry.
What do you do? You just like hide indoors?
No, well, I think I've actually, if I'm being very honest, I have gotten this remark from my close friends of like, why do you will never text me? I always have to be the one to text you first, or in a relationship, like, and I genuinely, like, I think I have to really make a conscious effort to do that, because I think that, oh, when me and my friend Jacob, who've been friends forever, he'll just call and we'll talk like nothing's passed, but I won't think to do that, because Emily plays well alone is what I got a lot at elementary school.
I got Dan is an exemplary student, but often takes more than his fair share at snack time. Nothing's changed. This is a really good question, though. We got a really good question that I want to ask. Someone just wrote, what if you don't get good reactions when you are honest to others and you get negative feedback? How do you handle that? And that's really interesting, because I have been down that path a lot. I am someone,
what is the, yeah.
So I always
what's
feel
the
like
question, though, exactly?
The question is, what if you don't get positive feedback from your honesty when it comes to like a friend conversation? We are raising money for Food Banks Canada and Feeding America. This is why we're here. So enjoy the conversation, obviously, but please donate if you can. The links are in our bios. As a Leo, I constantly feel like I know best. And all the major conflicts that I've had in my life with friends have come from me overstepping my boundaries. And I think there's a very fine line between being honest and overstepping and saying things that are not necessarily helpful. I think people have boundaries, and friendships are really interesting because you get to draw those boundaries, you get to have those conversations and really figure out where you stand with people. And in certain situations, like I've found myself being very frustrated by, you know, people's behavior or people's actions and not really understanding the why of it. And I think people sometimes react in different ways. And what I was getting frustrated by was my idea of how someone else should be handling a situation. And so I bring that up to them, thinking that I'm being honest. And the reaction has been, why don't you let me solve that problem? I don't know why you're getting so upset. And I get upset because I care. It's all coming from a well-intentioned place. But I think there is a boundary between, are you being honest in a constructive way, or are you overstepping in terms of your honesty? Because everyone needs to learn from their own mistakes. And as much as protective as we possibly want to be to our friends, sometimes you just have to swallow that pill and say, we are different. That's what makes us friends. I'm going to step back and take my own opinions out of the equation to let
watch you fail.
Fail or succeed. But
which would be
important to know the difference. It is important to know the difference.
Yeah. But so as a Virgo, I am so, every detail is really like so important, and probably I'm very critical of, I am very critical of things. And what I've learned, though, is to wait until I am asked to say my opinion about something, which is very difficult for me to do. But
well, I would say that I don't know if you've necessarily learned that, but
yes, I'm trying to. It's very hard.
Emily is someone that often will just say exactly what she thinks and feels. And if you know her, it's a wonderful thing because you're able to say, like, that's just Emily. If you don't know her, it can be very disarming.
You're regularly telling me like other people can hear you. I think that's why I also don't reach out to people, because I feel like I don't exist. Like I do sometimes feel like I'm in a little world, and you remind me though.
Well, that's what friends are for. I think kindly and gently reminding each other is never a bad thing. What else do we have? Let's just say this. We are 2 days away from the last episode of our show. And
that last episode though, like, killed me with us on the car.
Well, you mean the last week's?
Yeah.
It was very, very sweet. And that was a very tough scene to shoot because it was the second to last day of our entire shoot. So much of the emotionality of that scene, I think, was really like coming through in terms of like us knowing that we weren't going to get to do this as much, if ever. But it turned out really well. But I will say this, for those of you watching, the last episode is airing at a special time. So it's airing at 8:00 from 8 to 8:30. And then the documentary, Best Wishes, Warmest Regards, is airing from 8:30 to 9:30. So I know that a lot of you have your like PVRs set. So be aware, check your PVRs. It starts at 8:00.
PVR.
PVR, I don't know. Isn't that what people have?
It
Okay, here's another question. Would you prefer a friend to be supportive unconditionally or brutally honest sometimes?
well, if you were going to say brutally honest, just brutally honest, but brutally honest sometimes, wait, what was it? Like supportive, unconditional, what, sir?
Like always supportive or brutally honest sometimes?
I think there's an in-between option.
Yeah, let's just say that like basically what you've laid out in your question, a great pal is someone who can do both.
Yeah. And I don't think you have to be, the brutal honesty thing is, I actually think you can be honest, and I mean, I'm not an expert at this, God knows, but I think you can do it in a way that is not brutal. Sometimes I don't have the words.
Right. Oh, so it's not intentionally brutal. That's just who you are.
Well, I just think I have a hard time not saying the true thing, but then I realize I've learned that the true thing is not necessarily the truth. It's my truth.
Right.
It's like what I think. And yeah, you were a really good friend to me.
Thanks.
You were a really good friend to me. Like when I just like thought when I've been through like a hard thing or something, I'm the type of person who will not call my friends. Like I will not call anyone. And you called me. So
yeah, well, I think that's important. I think some people don't. I think a lot of people actually feel like they don't want to take up more space than they already do. And I think it's important for friends to be like aware of their other friends. I think if you have a friend that's going through something, you don't necessarily need to call them and say like, tell me everything. But it is, I think, important in terms of friendships to be aware of what other people are going through. And from time to time, if you know that someone's going through something, there's a delicate way of navigating that. And it's simply like, shoot someone a text saying, hey, if you need to talk ever, like, just know that I'm here, or I know you're going through something. Do you want to talk about it? Give people the option. But I think staying away from that sometimes, doesn't give people the option, because people do want to talk, but they don't necessarily have the tools, or they don't feel confident.
Yeah, well, somebody just said they don't want to bug their friend. And I kind of get that. I feel like I am always happy for someone to call me with anything and me be the one who helps. But for me to be the person, I feel like I don't ever want to be a burden. Though I will probably end up being a burden.
Well, no. And I think at the end of the day as well, like, if you are friends, if the people you have around you are like real friends, you shouldn't feel like you're a burden on anybody. Although I will say, relationship stuff sometimes can get a bit.
Yeah.
I think there's a limit that we can put on people who are like going through a breakup, and I feel like all of us have been there, where you realize that you have just talked to your friends about your relationship over and over and over and over and over again.
And you realize they don't see it because you've been there too, and they just don't see the thing. Somebody actually said to me yesterday that like, I'm not like, a friend of mine, I'm not just here for the highlights. I don't just want the highlights. And that like, I went like, oh my God, because that is how I feel. I just want to be a highlight, and I don't want my friends to be that.
Yeah, but I think about all the great friendships that you have, and if you're joining us for the first time, Emily and I are talking friendships. As
we're doing way better
than Emily and Stevie and David. We're talking friendships, all to raise money for Food Banks Canada and Raising America. We are doing Instagram lives every night to raise money. We're already at 132,000. It's unbelievable the money that you all have raised, that we have raised. It's just such a testament to the power of community and how people are donating like $2. And you know what? That $2 is going a long way. So thank you to all the people who were donating just the smallest amount. It's a donation is a donation, no matter how much.
Sarah just said, "Where's the Diet Coke?"
Oh, there it is.
Right. That was your sister just asking, "Where's the Diet Coke?" But
if you were to draw blood from Emily's arm, it would just be Coca-Cola.
Aspartame, but yes. But when I was waiting for you to accept me on the show, I think people who maybe just tuned in didn't hear. Like, it's so true that people think if they can't donate a lot, it's not worth donating. And these numbers have gone up because of the $2 and the $1 and the So yeah, that's really important.
Thank you all for donating, and for those of you that can't donate right now, that's totally fine. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah. We have 6,300 people watching us right now, and I am trying to get to all of your questions.
It's hard because they go by fast.
I know they go by really fast, but I did notice that if you stop the screen,
Oh, you can hold it? Yeah. Oh,
you can scroll back through questions.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, my sister came in with a question. How do you tell someone that they're talking about their relationship too much?
Oh,
have you ever done that? I have.
No. Oh, have you? Was it to me? Was it to me? Okay, God.
I was very clear when we were talking relationship stuff. I was very clear. Like, I said my piece, and then that was it. And I feel like that's all you can really do. I think there's about a month. I give friends like about a month.
Yeah. But wait, how did you say that thing? How did you say you're talking about your relationship too much?
I think all you can, inevitably it just creeps into the conversation and you end up repeating the same kind of affirmations that you end up talking to your friends about all the time. A lot of it is just like, release it, keep talking, that's fine. And I think, as humans, we need to talk about things and we need to rehash things in order to keep it going. But I found a really important, I was watching a documentary at one point, and the documentary was about brain health and how we think and how we process things. And the one thing that I've always told my friends, and this is a really useful thing, and granted, people are going to process it however they want, but when it comes to relationships, I sliced my finger, by the way. When it comes to relationships,
me too.
Yeah, I can't cook. Our brains are like muscles. So the more we train our brain into thinking something, and I told you this.
You told me this.
Oh my God. You train our brain into thinking something, the more we get used to reverting back to that potential sensibility. So, for example,
neural pathways, you build them.
Exactly. If you're going through a breakup and you wake up every morning and you're saying, why did this happen? How did this happen? I miss them so much. Maybe it was me. And you wake up the next morning and you have the same conversations, or you're talking to your friends and you're having those same conversations and you're surrounding yourself with conversations about your breakup, your brain will be naturally inclined to always go back to the breakup. So this was really helpful for me when I was going through those, like a breakup at one point. You have to actively train your brain as if it's a muscle out of the habit of thinking about the relationship. So from like a meta standpoint, I started to be able to disassociate what I was going through with the just physicality of my brain being accustomed to thinking a certain way. And the minute that I realized that, things changed. And so when it came to relationships, when it came to relationships, anytime I got into the habit of like being sad or thinking like, this happens all the time to me, why is it happening to me? I would either call a friend and talk about something entirely different. I would put a movie on. I would distract myself so that I could train my brain anytime it started to wallow to think about something else. And you end up getting out of that pattern of thought much quicker than if you just stayed where you were.
Yeah. And it is like an addiction too, that you have to, I do believe in that thing that you just have to like cut it off and not look at their Instagram, not think about that. Like you have to push yourself to do that. Somebody just said, I
know DVR. It's PVR in Canada, and we're Canadian. But
somebody said, how do you deal with when a friendship you like outgrow a friendship, but it's still like, you know, when that happens, like one of you is outgrowing an old friend. How do you deal with that?
Well, before we get to the question, for anyone that's new here, I just want to tell you all that we are answering friendship questions and offering relatively okay advice, I think, all to raise money for Food Banks Canada and Feeding America. Links are in both of our bios if you care to donate. Big, small, all is welcome. If you can't donate, that's fine. Just come and hang out with us for the next few minutes. What was the question?
How do you handle when you've started to outgrow a friendship? Like when one of you has started to outgrow an old friendship, you know, when you feel that awkward thing, like you're just not connecting anymore like you used to.
I call it like a slow drift out to sea. And by that, I mean, sometimes we realize that we've grown apart from people. Sometimes life or circumstance can really change who people are, and that's okay. Friendships are not necessarily meant to last your entire life. Some friendships that I have been so valuable in the time that I was friends with these people, and then we sort of grew out of touch with each other, and that's fine.
It's a we, though, I think the hard thing is if it's one person, it hasn't.
Exactly, and this is what I would say. I always like to do a slow sort of step back. And by that, I mean, you know, limit your communication, particularly if this person is making you feel badly or making you feel, you know, anxious or something. That's toxic. That's toxic friendship. And so I usually just like in those cases, you just sort of take one step back, then you take two steps back. And by that, I mean like answer a text, but maybe not meet up all the time. Distance yourself slowly, and slowly you will just get more like, you know, it won't be as constant, and then eventually you can pick and choose when you want to see people. But at the end of the day, if someone's making you feel bad, you have every right to decide if you want to see that person. You should never feel obliged to like hang out with someone who makes you feel bad.
Are you Canadian?
Put yourself first. What?
Are you Canadian even? Like, I feel like I've had to do so much therapy just to not give other people what they want, like in terms of friendship and stuff like that. And like, not saying that, you know what I mean, but like, I feel bad about stuff like that. But the slow step back, I think, doesn't work for me because I'm always back, so they don't notice a difference. So
right. So then you have an actual easier way of just not seeing people if you don't want to see them.
Yeah, but they still think we're close. But anyways, okay. How have you dealt with being ghosted by a friend? I guess that's the opposite. I've never been ghosted by a friend.
I've been ghosted by a friend.
Ghosted by like a person.
Definitely multiple partners. Definitely multiple dates have ghosted.
Give dating advice.
Yeah, that's smart.
That would be
I don't know. Listen, if a friend ghosts you, it means that they
They're
weren't
not a
deserving
friend.
of your time anyway.
Yeah. I think
Friends
as
should
you
bring
get
out the
older,
best in you.
yeah, you do realize like, okay, it's not worth it. Like, you find your people and they're just
Yeah,
your people.
exactly. People asking where you can donate. We have the links in both of our bios. You can click it. You can read all about the two charities or initiatives that we're giving this money to, Food Banks Canada and Feeding America. Because in this time when everything is upside down, the last thing anyone should be worrying about is where they should be getting their food. So please help raise some money so that we can help people who have some food insecurities right now. Because, you know, there's a lot of people losing their jobs. There's a lot of people who are scared and going
And on
through
top of that, being
really
hungry,
tough times.
like,
And you don't want to be, you know, hungry on top of that. That should really be the least of your concerns at this point. So please click the links in our bio to donate. What else can we say? Here's a question. Oh, well, I guess you talked about it. What? No, you go.
well, somebody said, how do you help a friend through depression? I feel, wait, is that a weird?
No, it's a really tricky question.
Yeah, I feel like I've had that, like, I've had friends and I've been the one sometimes too, but like, I feel like recognizing that they are actually depressed is a helpful thing, and as opposed to somebody who's, you know, sad or something bad has happened in their life, there's like, if you can recognize the signs of depression, I think the first time I was ever depressed, I didn't know it. And that was the harder thing. Now, if something happens, I know the signs, but I think as a friend, if you can kind of point those out and be like, maybe you should see somebody, maybe you should.
Yeah, I think, you know, the tricky thing is when, and I feel like all of us have had friends or have ourselves gone through really tough times. And I think it's not necessarily we're not necessarily equipped to handle that. But there are people who are professionally equipped to handle that. And so in certain situations with friends of mine where I felt like I don't want to give the wrong advice, and I certainly am in no position to offer advice that someone should be taking when it comes to things like depression, what I have done is researched hotlines, I've researched websites, I've researched people that they can talk to, professionals that they can be put in touch with to start the process of understanding what their depression is, where it's stemming from, how it can be fixed, because depression is something that is so specific to the person, and it really needs to be taken to a professional to be handled specifically.
It's a medical issue. It's not a friend. Like there's being sad and there's stuff, but there's being depressed.
Exactly.
And that is a mental health thing that you need health professionals for.
All you can really do is sort of help provide information and hopefully hold their hand while they go through it and give comfort.
I just do think helping them see that maybe this is a bigger problem, because I think a lot of people don't see that at first. If it's they just think, they don't even know that there's something wrong.
People were asking for the documentary that I was watching, and I believe it's like very old, and it was called "What the Bleep Do We Know?"
Oh my god, that's a movie with Marlene.
Yes.
Yes,
but it's founded in like factual evidence. And the one thing that I found particularly incredible was the like molecular structure of like water and thought, like your thought processes going into water. This is getting like very new age hippy dippy. But like I, from what I remember, they like put a Buddhist monk in a room with a glass of water and had them focus negative energy on the water. And then they put a different person in a room with a glass of water and it was positive energy. And the molecular structure of both of those waters, like the negative energy was all frantic and all over the place. And the positive water was like a very sort of calm, I don't know. I'm just talking at this point. So go watch the documentary if you want. Because I'll tell you one thing. You don't want me explaining this.
I saw a good question that I think for both of us. Somebody said, would Emily be friends with Stevie in real life, and would Dan be friends with David in real life?
I think I would be friends with Stevie.
Oh, yeah. But everyone would be friends with Stevie.
I don't know if I would be friends with David. He's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like both of our
would be
personalities are like so different, but also similar enough that I think we might annoy each other.
Yeah. I feel like I would be friends for sure with David. But with Stevie, I feel like we just never see each other. we'd never, we just
a permanent social distancing.
Yeah. We wouldn't even, actually, Stevie's way more social than I am. Like Steve, remember first season, she went to a tailgate party.
Yes, she did. Stevie does what she needs to do when she needs to do it.
She does what she wants.
Ooh, this is a great question.
She's taught me so much. Yeah.
This is a good question. How do you tell a friend that their social media presence is really annoying?
Ooh, that is good. That is good. I have been on both sides. I've received this and I appreciated it, and I've been the one to tell somebody, and I think they appreciated it too.
Okay. If you are joining us, I'm interrupting our conversation to just remind you that if you're joining us for the first time, Emily and I are answering friend advice, all for raising money for Food Banks Canada and Feeding America. The links to donate are in our bios. I heard we're up to 133,000, so that's great. Thank you for donating. Please continue to do so. Continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no. But, well, I want you to answer this question too, because so the question was, for people just tuning in, how do you tell a friend that their social media presence is annoying? I have been the person to tell someone, and I have been told myself. And what I realized, and I've appreciated it, and I think they appreciated it, because like when you're really good friends, I think you can be the person to be like, I'm looking out for you. And I usually think when people's social media presence are annoying, it's out of stop looking at me like that, Dan. I feel like you're looking at me. I feel like you're looking at me. Okay?
No, I'm not.
But I feel like sometimes it's either there's something like, when mine has been annoying, I would think it was a lot of like probably insecurity. Look, get that smile off your face, Dan. Anyways, what do you have to say about this, Stan?
Listen, nobody is more annoying than everyone on Instagram and Twitter and social media right now. I feel like this global pandemic and the quarantine has just pushed people off the edge. People are wild on social media right now. Like, and I feel like we're losing people by the day. Like every single day I'll see someone else just pull a social media move where I'm like, oh gosh, no. Oh, I have to mute.
Yeah.
I have to mute you now. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Listen, I think everyone has their own preferences when it comes to what annoys them about a social media thing. For me, it's like if you don't have any humor or self-awareness, if you're taking yourself like very, very seriously, and what you're doing is like taking photos of yourself in a bathing suit, that's going to be a tough sell for me. Just because
I've never been accused of that.
I've also never been accused of that. People will complain about both of our social media presences being annoying, but they cannot say that we post too many bathing suit pics.
Yeah, yes. But you know what's funny though? I found at the beginning of this whole thing, I was like impressed by everybody is kind of putting out art that they wouldn't have put out, or like creativity. And now I think it's gone, there's some things that I feel like the bad art is going to be just as bad as it's going to be bad anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that some good art comes out of this. I feel like art always comes out of really tough times. So my hope is that, I mean, I hope for myself, I'm writing some things right now, and part of me feels like particularly, all I can do aside from continue to raise money through this initiative is to continue to write TV so that down the line, hopefully we can get some shows made and employ some people. Yeah. So that's really, what I've been trying to do, although I found it very, very hard to work. And from a friend standpoint, speaking of friends, I think it's very valuable that people out there, internet friends of ours, know that like this is a really tough time and everybody is handling it differently. And, you know, we might be looking at people on the internet, or we might be looking at our friends who are being like incredibly like productive right now and thinking to ourselves, why am I not being as productive as my friends? Should I be more productive? What am I doing? How do I? And I've really thought that myself. I mean, I have a lot of work that's supposed to be, you know, getting done in this time. And it is.
I'm feeling so guilty about what I actually posted something that from Justin Trenter that he reposted. It's this woman wrote this thing about how we don't need to feel like we need to write that like novel right now. That like, I can't say it as well as that. It was brilliantly written, but I think that is something
maybe
that,
you can post, maybe you can post that on Twitter or something, the article, if you have it.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to repost it. Yeah.
But it's just a sense of isolation where I think we're all in our homes, we're all being quarantined, and all we can really do, because we're human, is like think about what other people are doing, and am I doing enough, and am I being productive enough? And the reality is, just know that you're not alone in that, because all of us are at home doing the same things. Some of us might be more productive than others, but that doesn't mean that you are not doing enough. It's what I've told myself every day. If I write a page of television every day instead of 2, that is more than nothing. And even if I don't write anything, if I sit at my desk for 15 minutes in a day and really think about the work that I'm doing, that's better than nothing. All we can do at this point is try to do our best, because none of us have been through this before. It is the strangest thing. All of our little human brains like have no idea what's going on, and they're just trying to process as best they can. So please be kind to yourself.
Yeah, I think it is. I do find it so fascinating that everybody has such a different experience of it, and you kind of learn who people you even know are through how they experience this experience. And I found it hard in the sense that I felt guilty a lot that I thrive in this kind of isolation and most of my friends don't, and when I get things like my friends are so lonely and upset, and I don't know how to make that better and stuff. I feel like I'm a horrible person because of it. And then so it's everybody different.
Everybody is different. And don't, please just like take a breath and know that everyone's just trying to do their best, and be kind to yourself. That's all we can really do.
Wait.
There was
one. I ate half what?
What? Go.
Somebody said I ate half a Hershey's cake today, and honestly, there's this weird thing that's been happening to me. I wake up in the middle of the night, and I don't know what happened. But then I lift up my sheets, and I have like I have mini eggs in there. I have
That's not surprising to me. That tracks.
Okay, okay.
It's 5:52. We've been doing this for quite some time, and I feel like we could just do this till the cows come home. But I will say we'll do 2 more questions, and one question that I just read, which is a really great question, which is, how do you come out of the closet to your friends?
Ooh.
And that, I mean, for me, my friends were the first people that I told. I was in high school. I told some friends. You know, I think friends are family. I think a lot, you know, for a lot of people, friends are family. That's what a found family is.
Especially for a lot of LGBTQ plus people,
exactly.
I think it's even more so.
Your good friends should support you no matter what. And I feel like, from my experience, friends were the first people that I told. And I was really confident in the fact that the friends that I had would keep that secret and would support me through that process and all that it entailed. And sometimes that's just, you know, being in it with someone. I think being in the closet is such an isolating experience, and you can feel so alone. And just reaching out to one friend that you trust, and telling them. Tell them on your time, tell them when you're ready, but even reaching out to one will allow you to feel confident in having the conversations, in talking to someone, in confiding with someone. And then if you feel the need to talk to a second friend, then you get to continue to expand on this community of people that you're surrounding yourself with, who can be there as a support system for you. And hopefully if all goes well and you have the right kind of support, you can then muster the courage to come out to your parents, or maybe your parents are your friends, in which case, tell them. But it's a very tricky situation. Writing the coming out episode on our show was the hardest thing I've ever done, because it's so different for people. Everyone's family dynamics are different. Everyone's friends are different. And all you can really hope is that you have support. And if you don't have friend support, then there are multiple places out there. The Trevor
There's
Project
a huge
is a great one.
Community.
Where you can actually call and talk to people on a hotline. And that's really helpful as well. If, you know, you should never feel alone in your experience. And if you're feeling the inclination to share your story, then talk to a friend, call someone, even if it's someone you don't know, just to share, just to get it off your chest, because it can weigh really heavy on your heart. So,
and I think sharing with people who you know, we live in an age now where there's groups for everything on Instagram and online, and especially the LGBTQ plus community is so supportive in a way that I think you could reach out to anyone, like even you don't know, and they will become a friend. But Gigi Gorgeous said this quote that her mom used to love, that I love it so much. It's those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. And I think in terms of that, when telling a friend, if they mind, they don't matter. No. And it's just like, I love that.
That's so good. That's such a great motto to live by. And that, to be honest, I think is like a great way to wrap this up. Like, friends.
Yeah.
That, say it again for people in the back row, in case people didn't hear that. Like, this should be the takeaway.
Oh, yeah. Those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Oh, that is such a great.
And on that note, thank you all for asking some really amazing questions and staying with us. And if you haven't donated yet, please feel free to click the link in both of our bios to donate. And if not, don't worry about it. We'll be doing this again tomorrow with some new exciting people. There's some very fun things coming up in the next couple days leading up to the last episode of the show. Also, at this point, what I have been saying to people is that the documentary is, as of now, just going to be on Pop. I've yet to hear information about iTunes or Hulu. I'm hoping we can get that information, and if someone has that information, please let us know. But as of now, I know that it will not be on Netflix. I hope that we will get it on Netflix, but if you're hoping to hold off until Netflix, I don't know if it's going to be there. I hope that it will, but that's just another piece of information, because I don't want to upset people who are like waiting to see the documentary on Netflix, because as of now, it is not there.
Wow. Okay.
So
thanks for telling me. Now I know.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, thanks everybody, and keep donating, keep telling your friends. We'll see you tomorrow for another Instagram Live. And thanks, Em.
Nice to see you, Dan.
Nice to see you. Love you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
I don't know how to get off this, though.
Neither do I.
Okay.